delay, big uplift, and then filter. It's actually real fun when you get it sounding good. Can bring it back slowly, add in some uplifts. Yeah. Hey guys, Tim here from Algonaut. Alright, so some of you may have noticed in a lot of our tutorial videos, I use this little creative effects rack that I've made that sits on the master channel. And there's been a bunch of people asking for it. So in today's video, I'm going to talk to you about what it is and why it exists, and then give it to you. So just for a bit of talking first before I dig into it, a little bit of history for why it exists. A while ago, I started finding myself writing in Ableton session view rather than arrangement view. I did this because I found that in arrangement view, I was compensating for boring or incompatible song parts and ideas by using structural tricks to force things to fit. Things like effects or filtering at the end of phrases to force parts to transition, or removing notes, adding gaps, and making sure some things didn't layer with others as they clashed. At the end of the song, I'd listen back and the song would have the classic problems. It was boring, or there are too many parts or ideas, didn't sound like it was really going anywhere, those kinds of complaints. Basically, it was incohesive. But when you write in session view, because you can't really do those tricks, you're forced to make sure parts fit with each other nicely. And you find happy accidents when assembling scenes because you forgot to copy or delete a clip or something like that, and it turns out sounding great. Or what you find is one clip just doesn't fit with anything else, and you have to be brutal and cut or remake it. In session view, you're basically encouraged and forced to keep your song and its ideas simple, and I think that's key to a great track. So, the problem is, in session view, as you're writing parts and playing through a scene, things just go round and round in loops. I would find myself second guessing or remaking a bass line only to have an issue with a new one in a few minutes as well. Turns out it's just because I was getting bored of looping it for 20 minutes and I needed to hear something change to keep my interest. So I made and evolved this little 8-knob master rack that I always have mapped to my Akai LPD 8 in front of my keyboard, so at any time I can instantly do a breakdown or a rise or add a bit of variation or flair, so I can get a sense of what the parts I'm writing might sound like in the context of structure. Once the parts are written in session and the rough scenes are plotted out, I usually do a rough record into arrangement view. I'm just playing through the scenes and recording the effects rack for rough breakdowns and drops and that kind of stuff, as well as a few little effects and bits and pieces. And then I just delete it. And I do all the effects and structure properly in arrangement view. So basically this master effects rack is purely a writing tool, something that you can use to test out loops or clips that you're working on to make sure that when a drop happens, it has the energy and it sounds sick. It's actually quite similar to Endless Smile from Data Live if you've seen that, but this one's a bit more subtle, a bit less extreme, with a few more controls so you can do more things. So let's get into it. Alright, so in order to talk about the master effects rack, we need to have some music going through it. I've got a half-baked project here. We're just going to make some drums to add to that. So I'm just going to use the Atlas real quickly. I'm going to load a map. Algo Drums 5 will do the job. We're going to go new kit. Just going to pull in some sounds. Yeah, that's a pretty good kit. Get a MIDI clip. We'll just go, yeah, Techno will do. And back here, turn those off. Yep, they're off. All right, cool. Let's solo that and good listen. It's pretty good. Let's try some other options. New kit. Nah. Not too bad. That's pretty cool, actually. I'm into that. Bit of tweaking, just turn that down a bit, turn on the shaker, turn on the hat, turn the hat down a bit. Click's a bit long, we'll just pull that in a bit. Might even change that kick actually. Yeah, that's better. All right, we got a kit. We got a loop. We also got a bass line here as well. So to solve this, this is a basic, simple, massive bass line. We do have some tutorials on our channel about how to make good techno bass lines, but this one sounds like this. I've got the cutoff mapped up to 1 knob on my LPD 8. Let's just duplicate that techno clip a little bit. I'm going to get rid of all the sounds here, except for the kick. And so that first clip is just the kick. I'll just gain it up a little bit as well. shorten that head up actually. And a ride comes in. Alright. So the point being, I've made a few parts, I've made a few scenes, but it's obviously just going round and round in a loop, and so I need to add some flair to this, just so I don't get bored. Alright, so bringing on the Master Effects rack. So here it is. It's just called Master Effects rack. For this video, I've actually updated it to version 2.0 and added one more thing. So basically, it's a pretty complex chain of effects that I've been evolving over time. It's all reasonably well labeled, so you can dig through this and understand it. But so I'll just go through knob by knob and explain what I've got. So at the start, we've got this knob here called Uplift. So first of all, I'm going to map this up. It is already mapped up. That's good. So I got basically, it's all mapped up to my LPD8 except for the bottom left one, which is being mapped to the cutoff in my bassline. Cool. So the first one is called Uplift. This is basically just a high pass and a reverb. Pretty standard, and it sounds like this. So you can basically create a breakdown, and you can slam it back down, and it'll be a drop. Do it with the ride. Cool, so that gives me an impression of what a breakdown might sound like. And a drop. The next one along is called wide delay. So this is basically a ping pong, but it's only using it's only delaying the tops, the mids and the highs. And I'll talk about that more in a second, but let's just play that and give that a listen. So you've got like a bass and a kick. You can just flick in some wide delay, just a little bit. Just catch little bits and kind of do a bit of variation. Or you can be a bit more extreme and add it to the uplift for even more madness into a potential mock build up and drop. Alright, so that's uplift and wide delay. So the next one along is reasonably simple. It's just a low pass filter. I'll do it with some more percussion. So far everything's been reasonably simple, but I will say now that actually these effects have all been put in a very specific order, so that they don't cut each other off. So for example, the low filter is actually affecting audio before the delay. So this means that, and not afterwards, this means that if you do a big delay or a big uplift, you can filter out all the audio and the uplift will carry on. As if it was like, say, a pre-fader effect. So let's just give that a listen. Big delay. Big uplift. And then filter. It's actually real fun when you get it sounding good. Can bring it back slowly. Add in some uplifts. Yeah, something like that. So that's those three knobs: uplift, wide delay, and low filter in that order. The next one's beat repeat. It's not just a stock standard beat repeat from Ableton. What I've actually done, I might try and dig in this and show you in this case, is beat repeat is actually doing some fancy stuff, because I didn't want it to beat repeat the lows. So what I've built, where is it? All right, there we go, I found it. Sorry, I'm starting to confuse myself. It's actually quite nested and quite complex. But here you can see, over here, I've split the lows from the mids and highs, and on the mids and highs is where the beat repeat lives. So this is just gonna basically repeat just the mids and highs, and it sounds a bit like this. You can probably hear underneath, the kick is still going underneath, which kind of gives it the kind of cool rhythm. It doesn't sound too jarring. And then of course that's all, the beat repeat's all put before the filter delay and the uplifter, so you can do a... something like that. So that's beat repeat. What else have we got? Uber pan. This is kind of similar to beat repeat, where it sort of increases in auto pan amount and speed only on the mids and highs. So it can be quite good if you don't have much going on. You just need to add a little bit of variation, and you don't want to do anything huge with delay. All right, and the last one, I wanted to do like an up riser, like the old pitch riser. But obviously in an effects unit, you can't just play a sample, not easily anyway, not unless you have like Max for Live devices, which I didn't want to do. Essentially, what's going on here is that as you dial away from 0, it's turning on the reverb, and the reverb is catching, it's freezing any audio that's just come in. So it's going to freeze the audio, and then what you're adding to that is a big bandpass sweep. So basically frozen a bunch of complete noise, and then bandpassing it, and it sounds a bit like this, and it works pretty well. Like that. So it kind of depends on what audio is being played into it, but it's pretty much just sounds like noise by the time it's frozen. It's just the whole track, and I think it's basically been filtered. So there's also a knob here, if you go back to the rack, called LFO ramp. Ramp LFO, and this just puts an LFO on that riser. So it sounds like this. So here comes the LFO. Cool. So that's the ramp, and the last thing to talk about is just bypass. So the way bypass works, perhaps I will map it up in this case to another knob. I'll take one off the pan, say. So just bear with me. We'll go map, no, MIDI. We'll delete that and put that on this knob. Okay, so bypass turns off all the incoming audio, but it lets the effects trail on. So this can be useful if you want to cut the effects out, but you don't want it to be too sudden. So bear in mind the uplifter knob, right? The uplifter knob, you can turn it back down again as fast as you want and it goes away, because I found that to be quite practical, because you don't want it to be delaying over something if you didn't want that. So for example, it's going up. I can slam it back down again and it's gone. Which is kind of what you want, unless you want to basically turn it off and then have it trailing on, and that's what bypass is for. So just to prove it, I'm going to turn bypass on by flicking it past 64. Yeah, works really well actually. So you can do it with all different kinds of arrangement of the effects and stuff. But yeah, I'll close the windows, and in a nutshell, that is it. That's the master effects chain. I hope you kind of understand it. It's actually quite complicated if you dig into it, but there's definitely some lessons to be learned. It's something that I evolved over time. And it really works for me. I kind of can't write without it now. I definitely just basically play things on loop and just muck around on the effects until I go, yeah, this is sounding sick. I'm really enjoying this vibe, and then I can put it down in arrangement view. And yeah, like I said before, often I'll sketch out the entire song in scene view, and I'll just hit record on the Ableton Live, play through all the scenes either with my launchpad or the mouse, and just doing the effects. And by the time you finish and get to the end of the song, you've got a 5-minute song that you can just bounce out as an MP3 and just go for a run and give it a listen. And that's quite cool to kind of to try and get your head around the song and go, okay, yeah, cool, that bass line doesn't really work, but that lead does, or vice versa, or whatever. So I find it really useful for sketching out songs, this Master Effects rack. Yeah, so you can download and use this in your Ableton Live session if you want. I'll do a link in the description, or you can get it from our site. It's just stock Ableton and plugins. There's nothing special in there. I think you just basically load it into Ableton, and then you can save it into your favorites and then use it however you want. And feel free to pull it apart and figure out what I've done. Even I don't really know what I've done in some cases. Yeah. And of course, if you're liking these tutorials, we do have a whole lot of tutorials on our channel as well that we're pumping out, about 2 or 3 a week. All kinds of interesting things, from like making drums to making patches and bass lines and stuff like that. So make sure you check them out. And also, while you're getting this rec as well from the website, do check out our product as well, Atlas. It's our drum sampler, and it's pretty groundbreaking, and we've got some great stuff coming for it pretty soon, so definitely worth getting your head around that. So yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.